mom or dad?
Do you know where your guys' family is?
Do you want some water?
Water feel good?
Interlock your fingers.
You're under arrest.
Arizona father Ascencio Largo left his 4 children locked inside a sweltering hot car while he visited a sex shop. Police say the outside temperatures were around 110 degrees, and inside that car, it soared to a life-threatening 125 degrees. The rescue was harrowing. The judge was stunned. But the sentence that this guy ultimately received, you are not going to believe it. We're going to break down the disturbing details of this case with an Arizona criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. Real quick pause on the story, not to take away from it in any way, but I got to tell you about something that can really help you out. I'm talking about our sponsor, Upside. This is the app that gets you cash back on daily essentials like gas, groceries, food. It is so easy to use. It is free. I can use it when I pump my gas, go to a convenience store, grab a quick bite. And yes, that's right. This is real cash back. After you spend, money appears in your Upside account that you can then transfer straight into your bank account. So here's what you do. You download the Upside app for free. You buy whatever you plan to purchase. You pay using a debit or credit card. You file a claim in the app, and boom, just like that, money back. So to find out how much you could save with Upside, click the link in the description or scan the QR code on our screen, but use our promo code SIDEBAR to get an extra 25 cents back on every gallon on your first tank of gas. This is the kind of story that makes you stop and ask, how can anybody do something like this? A Phoenix father left his 4 young children locked in a sweltering car while he went inside an adult sex toy store. That's the allegation. Police say the kids, all under the age of 10, were trapped for nearly an hour in triple-digit heat, windows up, engine off. The body cam that we're going to show you shows the moment officers rushed in to save them, handing out water, pulling these kids from a car that they say hit 125 degrees inside.
Hi.
Where's mom or dad?
Do you know where your guys' family is?
Do you want some water?
Water feel good?
You can pick up car. We're going to be clearing Tidrow.
There's 4. There's 1 in that one.
Interlock your fingers.
You're under arrest.
And in court, the judge called it out pretty clearly.
It's difficult to say that anybody who grew up in Arizona doesn't know that children and dogs die in closed cars. What the police are alleging could have resulted in the kind of story that gets picked up on international news wires. Man goes into porno store leaving his 4 children to die in their car.
And it did get picked up. This story made national headlines, and we are going to take you inside the disturbing alleged details, right? The claims, the dramatic rescue that was caught on camera, the shocking sentence this father actually received. So here's how all this went down. Back on July 24th at around 3:40 p.m., Phoenix police get this call about something that immediately raised alarms. 4 young children left alone in a car in the middle of the afternoon. And the location? Near 24th Street and Madison in Phoenix, Arizona. And right near the address of the adult shop, a local adult store that specializes in X-rated products and entertainment for adults. When officers arrive, they found the car locked, the engine off, and the windows rolled up. The temperatures were scorching outside, but inside the car, this was, and there's no other way to say it, this is a life-threatening situation for anyone, let alone kids under 10. These children, ages 7, 4, 3, and 2, they were trapped inside for over an hour. Someone had spotted the car, realized just how dangerous this was, made a 911 phone call. It ultimately got the police involved, thankfully. And once officers got there, they began the painstaking process of trying to find out who was responsible. Well, from court documents that were reviewed by KPHO, it wasn't just that the car was hot. The kids were showing signs of real distress. Their skin was red. They were sweating heavily. Their body temperatures were approaching dangerous levels. And officers noted that even once the doors were opened and the kids were out of the vehicle, their internal temperatures were near 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Police eventually tracked down the father, 38-year-old Ascencio Largo, and he was arrested on site. Now, there is still more that we got to get into. The charges, the courtroom drama, why this case ended up making national headlines. So I want to bring in Arizona criminal defense attorney and former federal and state prosecutor Kurt Altman. Kurt, thanks so much for coming on. This is a pattern that we're seeing, unfortunately, way too much. But from a legal point of view, how does law enforcement determine when a situation like this rises to criminal child endangerment versus a temporary lapse in judgment? Not excusing it, but a crime versus not a crime.
Jesse, that's kind of a judgment call, but it's pretty common here in Arizona that if you leave a child, no matter what age, in the car, that's criminal negligence at best, probably criminal recklessness and child abuse. And that's what the police determined here. It was July, right? So I don't know the exact temperature that day, but there is no doubt in my mind it was over 100 degrees outside, probably 105 plus. So that car got hot very, very fast. It's just a tragic situation all around. It's unbelievable.
Have you seen cases like this where you have multiple children inside the car, right? Because there's cases before where you see a baby left in the back seat, a young baby. You might have a parent says, I totally forgot. I didn't realize the baby was quiet or sleeping. But to have all the children in there locked up, and officers as witnesses?
No. Thank goodness. I guess I've never seen a case with multiple children left in the car of different ages, but I have seen cases where children that are a little bit older, 6, 7, 8 years old, are left in cars while their parents are doing something. And that almost makes it rise to a more criminal type event, because that parent has to tell that child, hey, don't leave the car, or the child has to be afraid to leave the car because they might get in trouble or something. It's almost different than a baby. I don't know if it makes it worse, but it's certainly a different situation and just abominable.
I want to start with what made this situation even more dangerous than beyond the heat, because first, court records, as reported by KPHO, show just how disconnected Largo was from reality that afternoon. Employees at this adult store apparently made several announcements about the kids inside the car, but nobody apparently came forward to claim it. And eventually Largo stepped out the back door, and when officers asked if that car was his, he first shook his head no. It was only after seeing law enforcement and fire trucks surrounding the car did he mutter, "Oh, S." This is according to KPHO. During his arrest, he told officers he was just in the store to, quote, get some supplies, though police say alcohol was definitely involved here. And as a matter of fact, authorities discovered that Largo had an ignition interlock restriction on his license, meaning he wasn't supposed to be driving without a device that prevents operation while intoxicated. And when officers found him in this sex shop, they said they could smell alcohol on him. And then there's the car itself. According to court documents that were obtained by Fox 10, quote, it should also be noted that the vehicle was only equipped with one booster seat and no car seats for the children. There were 4 children located in and around the vehicle, and there are only 3 rear seats located within the vehicle. The defendant also has the odor of alcohol coming from his person, and his driver's license has an ignition interlock. So even without the heat, these kids, Kurt, were in an unsafe condition. Again, how does a prosecutor interpret this? How does a prosecutor interpret what Largo was saying and doing and the actions he took?
Well, Jesse, there's all kinds of stuff to break down right there. First of all, what strikes me is, Mr. Largo was out of it, smelled like the odor of alcohol, obviously had been drinking, but his first reaction when he sees police is to deny it's his car. So he's trying to protect himself there. So that shows a little bit, at least to me as a prosecutor, that he knows what's going on and he immediately knows what he did was wrong. But before that, like you said, he had an interlock requirement. That means he has a previous conviction for DUI. He doesn't have the interlock on the car, which is what he's supposed to drive with. In other words, the car won't start if he's been drinking. and he's drinking and has 4 children in the car. So absent the heat, just forget there was any heat out there. He's committing numerous endangerment type crimes and endangering those children just by his actions of driving while obviously drinking. So it was a bad day for him and bad decisions all around. And frankly, he's the luckiest dad in the world that those kids are okay.
And to be clear, he would have been in trouble even if he hadn't left them in the car. Like if an officer stopped him, smelled the alcohol in his breath, saw the ignition device issue, the vehicle only had 1 booster seat, no car seats for the 4 kids, he would have already been in trouble if he was stopped.
100%, 100%. Those are felony counts. Those are endangerment. Those kids were all under 15 years old. He's clearly drinking and driving without an interlock. Yeah, he'd have been in trouble.
Now, once the children were rescued, the Department of Child Safety, they stepped in to ensure that they were safe, to ensure that they were protected. The kids were taken to a hospital to be evaluated for heat-related issues, and thankfully, they are okay. But the combination of extreme heat and insufficient car safety measures and alcohol involvement, it painted a very clear picture of child endangerment. The body cam footage captured the moment that officers arrived and immediately assessed the children's condition, the sweat, the red skin, the fear, the heat, the rush to get them out safely.
Hi.
Where's mom or dad?
Do you know where your guys' family is?
Do you want some water?
Water feel good?
I thought you could pick up far. We're going to be clearing Cedro.
Right
There's
here.
4, there's 1 in that one.
Interlock your fingers.
You're under arrest.
Kurt, I want to go back to you. So what are the immediate steps, legal steps, the protective steps that authorities have to take, sometimes simultaneously, when children are found in these life-threatening conditions like this?
Well, exactly what happened here, Jesse. The police will obviously take care of the scene. They arrested Mr. Largo. They took care of the kids. They called fire, but then they also called Child Protective Services, who has the ability to remove those kids and put them in foster care or somewhere on an emergency basis until stuff gets sorted out. What they'll do is they'll look for family members, responsible family members, to come find those children and take care of those children. But that's not often the case, or that's not always the case, I should say. And when it's not, they will take those kids into protective custody and the process will start. He will have to fight to get them back if that's what he wants. And they will find safe places for those kids to be cared for and raised if that's what it turns out to be.
And as difficult as this body cam footage is to watch, it is such an important piece of evidence, right?
Oh, yeah. Very important piece of evidence. I mean, that shows, you don't often see that, right? You'll have body cam from police officers showing up after something's been taken place, but it's rare, or at least more rare, to see the police actually in action, right? They save these kids. It's on camera. Anybody that saw that, if this case went to a trial, and a jury that saw that would just be taken aback, because this is not something most people deal with every day. So that evidence was important and very damning.
Now, at the time of his arrest, Largo was booked on 8 felony counts of child abuse and endangerment, all Class 4 felonies, our understanding. And during his first court appearance, the judge really didn't hold back, pointed out both the severity of the situation, how the charges could have been even more severe, higher, saying, quote, "In your case, I was actually surprised that the police booked these as a Class 4 felony instead of the higher class of felony. You could have exited that store to a car full of your dead children, which is rather shocking." And the judge described a scene that was both alarming and preventable, a scenario so shocking that, as we mentioned before, it quickly drew attention beyond Phoenix. Here's how it was laid out in court.
The fact scenario as alleged by the police is rather shocking. The police allege that they went into the store, called out many times, nobody came out, and they allege that when you came out, you attempted to pretend like it wasn't your car. It indicates a strong level of reckless culpability, of knowing. It's difficult to say that anybody who grew up in Arizona doesn't know that children and dogs die in closed cars. What the police are alleging could have resulted in the kind of story that gets picked up on international news wires. Man goes into porno store, leaving his 4 children to die in their car.
Yeah, Kurt, the judge mentioned that this could have been a story picked up across the world. Does public outrage, does media coverage, does that influence how judges might sentence someone? Or it really shouldn't, but when you're talking about this kind of case, do you think it has any effect?
Well, I mean, judges are human, right? Prosecutors are human, and public outrage and media coverage certainly affects human beings. But the prosecutors and the judges here have to put that aside, and they generally are able to do that and follow the law. That's what they're sworn in to do, and that's what they do. But that doesn't mean that a judge can't comment like this judge did on the severity of the charges and how absolutely ridiculous it is for an adult human father to do something like this. It's outrageous. And he's right that the charges could have been more severe. And when I said earlier that this is the luckiest father on the face of the planet, I mean it, because 10 more minutes, 5 more minutes, 20 more minutes, who knows? Those children could have all perished, and he would have been in prison for the rest of his life without a doubt.
I want to talk about this sentence in a second. We'll get to that. Before we do, could his actions have resulted in higher level felony charges? What would those have looked like?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, they would have been a little bit tougher, but Arizona has class 2 child abuse felony offenses, class 2 being a much higher class felony, worse class felony than a class 4. And those are often called dangerous crimes against children. If the children are under 15 years of age, like they were in this case, there could be mandatory significant prison sentences that accompany that. Somebody in the prosecutor's office looked at this and decided, based on all the facts, which we don't know all the facts, all the potential mitigation that this defendant may have had, like mental health or substance abuse issues that were undealt with. I don't know if that's the case, but, and decided to charge the lower level felonies because they thought it was the most appropriate and just thing to do in this case. But yes, I know people that probably would have charged a much higher felony and gone after this guy a lot harder.
And with that in mind, let's talk about what happened, okay? Because after all that chaos, what were the consequences? I want everybody to prepare themselves, okay? The father who left his 4 kids essentially baking in a 125-degree car for nearly an hour while he went into a sex shop was sentenced to just 4 months in jail. 4 months. On top of that, he got 10 years of probation. This sentence is shocking, Kurt. I don't understand it. Can you explain it to me?
Well, again, I don't know what was presented at sentencing in the forms of mitigation for the defendant. As a defense attorney, if my defense attorney hat is on and I'm representing this guy, what I'm doing is I'm presenting his life story. I'm presenting his substance abuse issues, the problems that he's had, and that not that he's not responsible for this, but there's mitigation for it. And maybe that's what happened. Also, it sounds like with a probationary deal with 4 months jail, it sounds like these were his first felony convictions. So the law allows for probation in a situation like that. It doesn't necessarily have to be a prison sentence. I will tell you, though, what people don't think when they hear probation is 10 years probation. Not that probation would be that difficult. You basically have to obey the law and talk to your probation officer. But somebody like this, it could be very difficult. They go out drinking. Again, the father goes out drinking when he gets out of jail to celebrate, drives without his interlock again. That probation can be revoked, and then he's looking at a significant amount of prison time on that. So the judge has given him a chance.
But what message does this send? What does it send about child safety and accountability?
Well, I mean, I think the message that it sends has to be determined by the viewer, right? I think there's a healthy debate out there about whether this sentence is appropriate or not. There's going to be a lot of people, because it's so outrageous, because there are children that think this sentence is just out of line, too lenient. But the sentences within the law, the sentences within the parameters that are set for these types of felonies, class 4 felonies, and based on sentencing factors, the judge determined that this was best at this point. And that's part of the plea deal too, Jesse, you know, how the prosecutors deal with the case.
When he gets out, does he get his kids back?
I mean, he can try. DC, that'll be a civil issue like we talked about with DCS or the Department of Child Safety. I imagine that they will try to go after his parental rights and something like this, because when this happens, Jesse, as you know, it's probably not the first time mistake in someone like this. So getting his kids back is probably going to be a long haul for him, and he's going to have to show some significant improvement before that happens in a situation like this. And that's probably the right thing.
Kurt Altman, thanks so much for taking the time. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Jesse.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you should get your podcasts. You can follow me on X or Instagram. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.